So chat, well, maybe we'll get another commentator in. Maybe Sure will be coming back. I'm not sure. But either way, we're going to have a great time here. What I was just talking about, this idea of uncommon characters where you only really have one representative of that character at the top level. One of those most common examples that we've seen recently is Light, the Fox. Everybody knows him as the Fox. He's that dude who's in top 10, way above all the other Foxes. He plays a certain way, and everyone who plays against Fox knows how to deal with that. And then enter Kaninabi. And while entering Kaninabi, we got Ritual also entering the chat. How is it going, Ritual?
How is it going, my friend? It's going pretty fantastic. I see the camera got moved.
Yeah, it was, let's see if we can like fix it a little bit.
Wait, did you move it?
So
because it was already centered. It was centered for the angle on
when we sat down, it was like way over here.
It's supposed to be. Because of the angle that how close it is, it has to be to frame everybody in shot properly.
But the way we had it, like it was like way off. So then we were in, but something about the way you sat down like shifted.
No,
I don't know.
Like if I'm centered right now, right? It should be.
But we're good now either way.
Well,
we're chilling.
If I slide over to the fact that like to actually be centered so that we're both here.
Right.
Because if you slide left, you're out of frame. You can't slide any more right.
Oh, I see you. Okay.
So it creates artificial distance. There's a little bit of just a production nerding out moment.
All right, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, but so if you were to come over, right?
So I just have to. So I should have slid over instead of moving the camera.
Yes.
All right. Yes. We got it. Either way,
it's generally always a. If production has a camera set a certain way, don't touch the camera.
Fair enough.
Right, because you see now how we're both in shot.
Okay, yeah, I see you.
And if you slide back slightly too, for example.
Yeah, let's slide back a little bit. All right.
Yeah. Do you see how we're basically now perfectly framed?
Yep.
Yeah. Just a random little nerding out moment, I guess, for me.
So how you doing, Ritual?
I'm doing great. Look at us in person.
Yeah, we got to cast online recently together.
Yeah, we got to cast a couple fusions.
Yeah, a couple fusions. We had a great time, but we never got to meet each other in person. So it's really cool to finally put a body to the face, I guess. I don't really know how that
this is what I look like from the shoulders down.
That's crazy. That's the forbidden knowledge right there.
You know what? In some circles, it absolutely is, my friend. And it is a blast to finally just get to meet you in person. Get to meet so many people here. You, Nasta, Yin, who I've known for a while now, but just we're on opposite coasts. We're on opposite corners of the country. So how do you find these opportunities to meet each other unless you're at an event together, right? And with the coast-to-coast overlap, there's not a ton between commentators. So very thankful to have the opportunity to be out here and really excited to get to share it with some people that I know pretty well.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Speaking of sharing things with some people, we're getting right into game number 1 here of Yuba versus Osprey. Yuba is absolutely insane with this, Lucas. Here from Japan and visiting in BC and made some waves beating Thorn over at the pre-local last night.
I heard the pre-local was kind of crazy. A lot of upsets.
There were a lot of upsets. And Osprey as well, actually one of the people who runs that local.
It's starting? It's starting?
The double jump cancel, that is a very, very tight input, my friend. So finding it there, just Yuba going coast to coast, he has been grinding. That's
the test right there. Like, is this a real Lucas? And in 5 seconds of gameplay, Yuba already proved to us, yeah, I'm more than a real Lucas. Oh, the PK freeze. I like that.
Yeah, what he's done, right, is find ways to create pressure, find ways to make his movement tricky and cover the space he wants to go to, right? Like, PK Freeze, they're looking for a jump but doesn't find it, and he's willing to play around his shield here because he knows, I can't contest Byleth's range, so I just have to find ways to whip punish her, I just have to find ways to call her out and get really tricky with my options, and that's why you're seeing Yuba pick some of these choices to find some of these call-outs.
Yeah, at the same time, like Osprey, oh!
Speaking of call-outs.
You gotta be careful! And what a way to send off that first stock from Osprey. Okay.
Yeah, that was beautiful, right? Osprey recognized, hey, Yuba's holding shield for a really long interval. So what do? I bust out the shield breaker. Yuba there, especially after losing that first stock that way, dropping that next double jump cancel there. And so instead, not gonna find the grab, has to resort to the get off me tool of PK Fire, and just is going one hit at a time. A minute and a half in, he backed up the damage, but since then it's just stopped, right? He hasn't been able to find an opening to get this last hit. Byleth neutral air is so active, and the controller disconnect Is he gonna take the stock? Is he gonna take the game?
Let's find out.
Aim.
Oh, wow.
I think it's gonna be a second. Is he just gonna let him play?
Wow, and he was in disadvantage too. I mean, mad respect to Yuba for being willing to, or for Osprey rather, for being willing to do that for Yuba. Because Yuba was in disadvantage in the corner. Osprey had a lot of pressure on, so, you know, I always love that. Honestly, either way, I'm all for it. If you want to give it to him, give it to him. If you don't. Just you know, make a decision, move forward.
Exactly.
And now,
I agree, and I don't think people should say, "Oh, it's scummy to take the stock." It's like, no,
oh yeah, no, it's,
you know,
it's the rules. Like,
stuff happens again.
And like Yuba could have easily gotten killed there, right? Like you don't know what was going to happen. Either way, though, Osprey not too miffed about it, continuing to put on the pressure, potentially continuing with I just had to say it, and there's the mix-up with the grab. I like it.
Yeah, and the grab there, right, allows you to turn around and go the other way. There are actually ways to get across up and go back and forth across the stage to rack up huge amounts of percent. But right now, it's just Yuba trying to find any opening, right? He, again, is working so hard for every single hit because Osprey, recognizing that whip punishing we talked about earlier, just hasn't been swinging. He's just been letting Yuba kind of push buttons and trying to play more reactive, and all of a sudden, just lock down Yuba's entire game plan.
And now you're in that interesting game of mix-ups where you already punished the over-shielding from Yuba. So now Yuba is probably going to be in more of an under-shielding state of mind. Once you get shield broken, as a competitor, I can tell you, when I get shield broken once, I'm like, I'm done with shield. It's over. For the rest of the game, no shield. And now Osprey has the opportunity to maybe take advantage of Yuba feeling a little bit that way.
Yeah, and Yuba definitely, right, has played more aggressive. He's still willing to throw this out, but for someone who has as much startup as Byleth does, I'm surprised we haven't seen Yuba look for parries at all, right?
Yeah.
Especially when his problem is utilizing the shield as a way in to then get the whip punish and contest range. Parry allows you to do that more effectively, but it feels like maybe Yuba just doesn't have the most Byleth experience because he's not familiar enough with the timings to lock these in. Losing his stock there, but in a last stock situation, he still has work to put in to close this out. It's a question of, can Osprey find a hit, get him off stage, to keep this pressure going, or is Yuba going to be able to keep finding the tricky reversals that have kept him in this game one so far?
Yeah, these Zaire cancels have been putting in work for Yuba, not able to get anything off of the corner there. One thing that's hard about those Zaires is it doesn't do a lot of damage. It's a crazy amount of corner carry, and you can get a lot off of it with the edge guards and the ledge traps. But if you have a situation like that where Osprey is able to get out at the last second, it's like, man, I just did all that work for nothing.
It does combo into other things as well, though. So you can find situations where you can carry them off stage with it, put them into things like a back air or down air, depending on stage positioning, depending on DI, etc. But just hasn't been able to really set those up. And so instead, it's just been Yuba looking to play this game of inches, one hit at a time. 2 minutes left on the clock. We're not used to seeing Lucas really slow the pace of the game down and timing people out, but we are here, right?
Yeah.
This isn't the regular we're used to. This is Yuba, and he's going to play that very disciplined style we're used to seeing from Japan, bringing it here to BC, and that slow and steady wins the race, right? Taking game one.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Yuba played that really well. Osprey was putting on a lot of pressure. We talked about that shield breaker, right? That immediately, it feels like it gives Osprey all the power. Like, yeah, like you've been shield broken. What do you even do at that point? You just kind of, it's so easy to fold, right?
Reset.
But Yuba reset, exactly.
And
the
that's
reset.
The benefit of that small methodical play too, Lentini, right? Is that it gives you that time to breathe. You're not playing super high octane where, you're playing Fox a million inputs a minute, you get your shield broken, and then you have to go right back to that. And suddenly all of your momentum's been sucked from you. It's like, no, the way Yuba's playing, getting your shield broken is like any other interaction, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't disrupt the pace of your play that much.
I do like that Fox analogy as well because Lucas has the potential to be a high APM character.
Absolutely.
Like what we were seeing with those double jump cancels with the Zaires, this stuff right here, there's a lot of inputs involved with this stuff, and when your hands are moving that fast, it's really easy to get your mind caught up in that, right? So the resets, like you're talking about, are huge, but now you've got a smaller stage to work with.
And a smaller stage means less space, but what it also means here is Lucas with that up air, you don't hear it talked about too much, but it is his main combo tool from 0 to 40. He is really, we still attempted it there, he is really good at juggling you vertically. He's really good at controlling the center space under platform. Byleth can too, but Yuba's been so methodical at finding a place in that I feel like almost you would want more space, not less to work with if you're Osprey.
I'm intrigued by what Osprey's goal here is, because, yeah, I like that idea of having more space, but one thing that you get when you have a character with these long hitboxes like Byleth is your forward air kind of just covers half the stage. Like,
Absolutely.
So it's more a matter of, is Yuba on my left or on my right? And that's all you really have to think about at that point. Meanwhile, Yuba has to space a lot more carefully, things like that B-reverse PK fire, to be tricky to get past those hitboxes.
And I want to talk about it well. Look how grounded Yuba's playing, right? He's not going for these big up air strings that you might see Lucas go for normally for the most part. He's trying to corner carry him because he recognizes, hey, this is what Osprey wants. He wants to try and get a reversal, battle, and juggle me. Because that center platform with how big Byleth up air is and Lucas being floaty, Byleth can juggle you for days on the stage. But if you just play grounded, you force them to hit you horizontally. You force them into these edge guards where Byleth just doesn't have a ton to work with. And though you still explode because of the small blast zones, I mean, it's a lot harder for her to take these early stocks.
Yeah, completely agree, but ooh, okay, the DLC tether is going to cancel it out there. And great corner pressure, the F-tilt, yeah, closing it out. Osprey now on even footing. That is really important for Yuba's game plan, right? Making sure that that Osprey doesn't get that extra credit, doesn't start to run away, and you don't have that inverse of the previous game where now you are forced to hold forward for the rest of the game.
And we're seeing, right, as push comes to shove, Osprey is just playing so much of this game out of the corner. He goes for a ledge trap, looks for a very committal option. And yeah, it's not that like Byleth has super non-committal ones, but seeing some of the side specials might do something extra. We finally see those up airs, right, that we haven't seen so far, as well as utilizing Zare. The cool thing with Lucas on a double jump cancel with Zare is it allows him to immediately change his aerial momentum. So he can be going up, double jump cancel, and immediately be falling, right?
Yeah.
Or go before full momentum forward to full momentum back. And Yuba's been using that very sparingly, but it's just enough to make Osprey second guess wherever Yuba's gonna end up.
Yeah, 100%. And now, though, Yuba is starting to push this advantage. You got to be careful if you're Osprey here. This is the opportunity for Yuba now to run away with the game. It's been so back and forth. Both games, Osprey has taken that first stock, but Yuba has managed to claw it back quickly and effectively using that grab mix-up. Yuba's been doing a good job of not overusing grab, and now just being an absolute terror off the stage with that up B, closing out the second stock.
Yeah, the multi-hit nature of Lucas's move, especially on the tail, having that electric property, so it puts you in additional hit stun, but just less overall damage, right? He just got locked in and couldn't find a way back. And then the pressure called the freeze call out, and just like that, Lentini, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Yuba had been playing so conservatively, right? So safely the entire set long that the second he turned up the jets,
yeah, you're just not ready for it.
Yeah, Osprey, it couldn't keep up. It's like, what do you do?
Yeah, that was really impressive from Yuba. I love the mixing of the aggressive play and the passive play because, yes, you're correct, very methodical all the way through the set. But then there were always those moments where all of a sudden you're just in the Zare dimension and, like, it just comes out of nowhere. You're not ready for the explosive offense out of the corner, out of those neutral situations. And I feel like that was a big asset to Yuba to get past those zoning options from Byleth.
Absolutely, my friend. And, you know, as you mentioned, right, letting Byleth swing, just playing that defensively, playing that pace of the game, taking, you know, simple and easy are not always the same thing. And Yuba's game plan was very simple, right?
Yeah.
It was, I'm going to play defensively, I'm going to dash shield, and I'm going to DJC Zare you. However, simple doesn't mean easy. And that was anything but. That was very impressive gameplay. Hey, from Yuba, who was executing. He dropped one Zare combo loop.
Yeah,
the entire set. That's absurd. He dropped one repetition the entire set long. Meanwhile, 2 weeks ago, I was in South Carolina casting a tournament called Rock the Hill 2. And president of South Carolina is Regulo, the Lucas player, widely considered the best Lucas in the world right now. I don't think I've ever seen him only drop one repetition of that throughout a set. That was absurd.
It's very, very impressive. And like we were talking about, if you do drop it, you don't get very much off of it, right? It's just like a few damage per hit. And what you're really relying on is the corner carry and the follow-up that you combo into afterwards. So you have to be very confident to pull out something like that mid-set. And I mean, clearly Yuba was very confident, and for good reason, because the execution was absolutely there.
It has been some fantastic stuff all the way around from both of those players. But